So we are going to be a bit fast here because we're running out a bit of time.
Okay, so we got to the last panel, that it's your opportunity.
Global strategy for Gaia-X, and we have our moderator, Roland Fadrany, the CEO of Gaia-X, with us, that we know that he has been here for the whole day, speaking in the morning, speaking in the afternoon. Welcome him on stage and the rest of the speakers.
Invite Peter from Microsoft. I'd like to have Nassima from Orange, Eric from Google, Sven, and Alfredo from Telecom Italia. Yeah. Okay, thank you for joining. Let's get started because we have a little pressure. Alfredo needs to catch a train and we are late. So let me directly jump in before I introduce the others in more detail. Alfredo, you are from team, you are running Cloud Portfolio and Center of Excellence. What does Gaia-X mean to your strategy?
Oh, thank you. It works? Yes. Okay, first of all, sorry, because I need to go, because I know that the train is paying out on time. If I was in Italy, maybe I could stay longer. No, joking apart. Since the beginning, Team Enterprise joined Gaia-X as a founding member because we are very under pressure by different factors in our business. Regulatory, government, European Union, customer, and the regulatory effect. We provide cloud for those customers. So we need we need help. Let's put it this way. We need help to build the cloud with the sovereignty control and also work in an effective way with our major partner that are represented also here. And interoperate at the European level with other service providers. So for us, Gaia-X was a tremendous opportunity, still is, and is going to be, to try to find answer or a platform where we're not going to solve all this problem, but we have a place to discuss, address, and set the fundamental guidance for our decision that we're doing into the cloud. So Gaia-X for us is an opportunity to contribute, but also to get value in the relationship with other service provider and the larger group of players like the one that operate also outside Europe, right? So this is why we benefit and we would like to, and we are into Gaia.
Okay, thank you, Alfredo. Eric, good to have you. Eric, yes. You're Principal Cloud Data Ecosystems with Google. What does Gaia-X mean to your strategy?
Yeah, a lot. So I think Gaia-X and Google share a lot of common values, like openness, for example. Few people may know that most of the cloud services, especially in the data cloud, are actually open source. And we rely heavily on open standards. Then it's obviously, security, but that counts for all of us. Right, this is prior number one. Transparency, having inspectability, knowing exactly as a customer or as a partner what's happening in a tenant. And these constructs actually create trust that is super important. That's the fuel that we all need, right? It also sends a strong signal that Europe has demand for sovereign data spaces and ecosystems. And that resonated with us from the beginning. And it triggered actually and rectified a huge engineering effort within Google to think about the problem more holistically. It's not only about data sovereignty that most people talk of, so who's managing the keys, do I have guarantees for data residency and these things. It's also operational sovereignty. So can I rely on, for example, European citizens on European ground that are background checked to support and operate my workloads? right? That's an important criteria. Also software sovereignty, meaning that am I locked into proprietary technologies, or is it based on open source and open standards? So can I move somewhere else if I want to? And also, would my workloads on a hyperscaler survive a disconnect from the hyperscaler network, right? Am I still operational? Do I still have time to react? That's software sovereignty. And so that's actually like the three-layered, more holistic approach that we're actually following up on. And then, of course, make these nice services of big data, advanced analytics, machine learning, generative AI available to the ecosystem.
Okay, thank you very much. So Sven, I know you're from Telecom and the head of data space business. What is your take? What is your Gaia-X strategy?
Naja, when you're saying strategy, I think when I think how this activity relates to our strategy, I think this year is really paid off. So that means the initial investment that we started, I would say 10 years ago as Deutsche Telekom supporting any cloud provider as a managed service provider. We started really early and then joined IDSA 7 years ago. And then, of course, the Gaia-X initiative started. But what I'm seeing, and that is what I'm thinking when I'm thinking about Gaia, that this is really all about business, right? That is the reason why we are here, and that is the reason what I'm seeing, that business is paying off. So that means the investment over the years is now paying back. And with the initial projects, customer demands, business opportunities, scenarios, we are really seeing and demand is coming more and more. And that means it's tough bundled to our strategy, and we are continuing on, and that is what I'm thinking about it, yeah?
Perfect.
Maybe I have to mention, right, one thing, and maybe you'll look here at this paper, right? And business, all about contracts, right? But what we also did, we signed a contract with Gaia because it was demanded that we have an agreement in place. Really happy that we signed this today, this morning, right? That we are now also really proud to offer the Gaia-X clearinghouse to our clients and customers, right?
Thank you. Peter is a principal for cloud standards with Microsoft and very active in the community since a very early stage. So what does Gaia-X mean to Microsoft's strategy?
Yeah, thank you, Roland, for having me here. So Microsoft has seen from the very beginning, from the early days of cloud, that there's always this question about the autonomy and the agency of our cloud customers on our cloud platform. So I've been with the Azure team since the very beginning, and we've seen this from day one coming, and it's a question that just amplified as more people started using the cloud. How can I be sure that I keep agency of my actions, of my data, of my software? How can I make sure that I have autonomy in the cloud solution where I'm running on somebody else's hardware? And so those requirements have always been there, and we've seen over time more and more engineering efforts to help create trust in the cloud by offerings like the European Data Boundary, the Azure Cloud for Sovereignty. And now with Gaia-X, we see the requirements from customers around trust building in the cloud, around agency over their destiny, autonomy over their data estate, bundled through one organization that can speak with one voice for all their members. So Gaia-X is a super important partner for us to understand what are the demands of our customers, not just in Europe, but globally, on how do we build trust in the environment. And now that we are getting to a point where more and more data has to be exchanged by machines 100% automatically without human intervention, we need to find a way how machines can build trust between each other on behalf of us humans. And so I think what makes this effort of Gaia-X so very valuable to us is that you're helping define a system that enables the creation of trust, not just between us humans, but at the speed of machines. And that will be necessary to exchange data at the speed of machines.
Thank you. Nassima, you are Chief Trust Officer with Orange. Can you give us your perspective?
Yeah. I will start with what is the DNA of Orange to better explain why Orange is involved in Gaia-X. As a network and digital services integrator, Orange Business has some responsibilities towards its customers, and one of them is to provide resilient and secure infrastructure. And this is why Orange strategy is to continue to invest and capitalize in its assets. But that's not enough. That's not enough because with the softwarization of networks, with the acceleration of AI, and so on, we see that many companies, many public administration are still not ready on data sharing. I can tell you that Orange Business has almost 3,000 customers, and there are different approaches on cloud. Some of them use different cloud solutions because there is not a single cloud solution that fits with all the needs. Others would like to accelerate their digitalization, but it's difficult. It's difficult because there are many concerns about data integrity, data control, data privacy, and so on. So why Orange is involved in Gaia-X? It is because in addition to what I mentioned on the importance of infrastructures, that's not enough. And it is paramount to also be able to provide the keys to have a better circulation of data. And to do so, we need standards with clear criteria, with clear attributes, in order to know and in order to be able for the users to know at any time which level of control he has on the data, and to have a better exchange between all the providers and the stakeholders.
Thank you. Now, some might wonder why we are sitting here in that round, and when we're discussing about the panel, there is, in the public, there is this perception that there is a tension between the US hyperscalers and the European providers. But, I mean, working with telcos for quite a while, is that really happening, or has somehow and a successful ecosystems already evolved between, let's say, hyperscaler and US technology and European providers? And I start with you, Alfredo, because I know you are under pressure.
Thanks. So this is an interesting question because I'm working every day with the hyperscaler to provide to my customer a sovereign cloud. So my first statement for the entire audience I hear today, a lot of questions related to make it clear what does it mean Gaia for you. So my question for the audience will be, how many has read already the labeling document and the architectural document of Gaia? I read for sure, okay? So I suggest to read this one because that's what we are using to filter the relationship with the hyperscaler. And that's what we are using to give to the government and the customers, enterprise customers, solution a certain level of sovereignty. So when you use open, let's say open standard, even if standard is not the right definition, the conversation is a collaborative one. It's not a confrontational moment, it's more a collaboration towards the customer needs. So that's why Gaia for me is important, because it's a third reference to this conversation, right? So it is key, it is important, and to be honest, and I'm looking at you two there, this conversation that happened in the last 3 years helped you guys to come closer to us and vice versa. You know, this is like a terra franca, that's what we say, where this conversation happened without prejudice. And so we are addressing the needs of the customer in terms of privacy and data control, rather than having a moment of competition, right? It's not even a competition here. It's more a collaborative effort to use the common framework to give this. And this is what we use every single day. So someone asks, are you using Gaia? So what does it mean using Gaia? I'm using Gaia-X reference architecture every day, translated in the Italian law, for sure. So trying to find a balance between, but that's the way that we are envisioning the collaboration.
Thank you very much.
With that, I need to go, and I'm sorry that I'm leaving early, okay? Thanks a lot
Thank you for staying and taking the risk. Jump. So Sven, it's not a secret that you have good relationship with a lot of providers and you have built successful models around it. So what's your take on the ecosystem today?
Yeah, I'm with Alfredo and also with Nassima, right? It's all about customer centricity, right? Customer talks and is explaining us what fits for his business need, and this is, I think, there is not one cloud, one service that fits for all purposes. For that reason, I think it's really important to cooperate, to work with my colleagues on the left-hand side, but also on the right-hand side when I'm looking to colleagues like AWS is not there, Open Telecom Cloud as another example. So for us, it is really important that any cloud and the customer can decide at the end which service should run on their environment that he is trained in, that she has, that they has seen the workloads are suitable for them. For that reason, that should be flexible. That is my take on ecosystem. And when you're looking a little bit in the past, I think it's also really important. Look at this clearinghouse service, what we just developed with Gaia together. Of course, that has to run in one node, and we have to decide on which one it should run. But at the end, as I said, customer centricity and customer decides who would like to receive the service. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also the easy of access, so it needs to fit. So Nassima, you are also in the board of Gaia. So does that mean that our strategy has fundamentally changed now?
To answer this question, I think important to come back on the benefits users are looking for. We could consider that there are at least three. The first one is to be able to have a framework providing the good level of data sovereignty or data security, and thus to enable users to choose with regard to their needs. This is the first point. The second one is also a question of transparency. With the transparency, I mean the possibility for the users to have a total transparency and a verifiable assurance on the compliance level provided by the certified cloud services, Gaia-X. And last but not least, there is also a challenge in providing interoperability to foster innovation, but also to foster competitiveness, which means that we need to foster collaboration with different players. So I think that we all seen during this day that Gaia-X objective purpose has not changed. What I like to underline is that we have to keep in mind that we live in a digital world of interdependencies. So it is utopian to consider that our goal, our role is to build fences around the European borders. This is not our goal, and Gaia-X shall leave enough room for cooperation models between EU and non-EU providers, because this is life. I just want to underline this. And provided that they are implementing all the necessary safeguards to be compliant with the criteria defined in the different levels of labels. So eventually, every user, being a private company, being a public administration, can adopt Gaia-X services that are qualified to treat the data according to the data classification levels and according to their needs.
Okay. Now, Eric, Google has been participating in Gaia, not only being a member, but actively participating since the very beginning. So how has your strategy in regards to sovereignty evolved through that time, and how is your take on that now?
Yes. So it has diversified significantly, and it has to. I mean, if you look into individual specific European countries, and we have 4 partners that we're working close together with in 4 countries. It would be like Inram Insight in Spain, it would be TSI in Germany, Sens in France, and TIM in Italy. You see that actually every market is regulated differently, it regulates its industries differently, so there is no silver bullet for all of this. There's no sovereignty switch that you can switch over and then everybody's happy. So if I would put this on a spectrum of sovereignty and of, let's say, innovation or hyperscaler features, you would probably start on one end with just the public cloud, where you have no brakes attached, you have full innovation, full speed, full scalability. Then you would move on and, for example, add sovereign controls. That is what we developed together with T-Systems in Germany. This is like external key management by an accredited local entity like T-Systems, data residency guarantees, inspection, like the autonomy aspects that Peter was talking about. You move further and you say, I want to have operational sovereignty. I want to have everything supported and operated by the customer, by the partner. Then you would end up with Trusted Partner Cloud, for example. This is actually the partner is running a data center from Google. And we invest a lot in actually training and upskilling partners to learn the tech stack and to be ready to support and operate it. Or you say, I even need to be able to run in a completely disconnected environment. I need complete software sovereignty. You can actually buy Google technology in a rack and put it wherever you want, and it can even run disconnected. And the beauty is actually that it's the same tech stack all over. So you develop once and you run it wherever you want. Ideally, after you have done your data classification, that's actually the spectrum. But in order to shield that complexity from the customer, you can also think of it as like a menu, right? You order like, okay, I want external key management, this applies. I want to have operational sovereignty, this applies. I want to have inspectability, this applies. So this is actually what the portfolio will look like. It's very diversified. It's not a silver bullet for everything. It can't be. And then in the end, of course, I mean, again, we need to make it available to the broader ecosystem through connectors. Yeah.
Thanks, Eric. Peter, same is true for Microsoft. Very active in the community. What is your take on this?
So, as you said, we've been very active since day one in the working groups, and I think the important part for us here is that we are doing development jointly in open source and that we are driving together towards international standards. Because those, I think, are 2 super important ingredients how to make this work. We need agreed standards so that if you disagree with the implementation of a data space connector in Eclipse, you can just go and write your own one. If you disagree with a data space connector being written in Java because you need to have it in C++ on your IoT device, you can go and write your own one. But those 2 need to be able to talk to each other and to the ecosystem. And that is not going to be possible if we do not develop proper standards together as a community and have the needs of the various players and communities seen in those standards. And so I think this is a super important part if we really want to have an ecosystem where everybody can work with data in the environment of their choice, be it a hyperscale cloud, be it a localized cloud, be it an edge device, be it a moving device, maybe even data sitting in a satellite somewhere, then you need to have those standards that allow every environment to build their right connector solution and to participate in the trust framework with whatever is right for that environment. And that's why we are focusing a lot on contributing to the open source ecosystem. So Microsoft is very active in the Gaia-X working groups as well as the IDSA working groups, because those are defining a lot of the requirements and business processes for this software. We are very active in the Eclipse Data Space working group, and with that in the Eclipse Data Space Connector project, because that is one of the possible implementations. We're very happy to see that other implementations have started in parallel to that, because an ecosystem will be stronger when there's resiliency, and resiliency you get by having implementations that follow the same standard but are done in different technologies, different platforms, because everybody's in a different community. There might be regulatory communities, industry communities, hardware platform communities, and all those will have special needs. And this strategy of open source will allow to address all those communities and bring them together in one trusted environment. So I think that for us, the important part here is to say, no matter where you have your data estate and how many data estates you have in your company, there is a need to interact trustworthy and in a standardized way with other data estates of other communities. And that is only going to be possible if we can agree on joint standards.
Thanks, Peter. And I like the fact that we, over and over during the day, we get that schema that we started in the morning with Ulrich saying, we are working together, there is IDSA, there is Gaia, and Lars, meanwhile, has joined our conference. So there is BDBA and there is FIWARE, and we are all working together. There's different standards, and they're all applicable because we make sure they actually are interoperable. Now, Nassima, how is Orange supporting the operationalization of services with Gaia?
I would say that there are different steps. The first one is what I called data management and data awareness. Why? And data hosting. Because you can have the best data exchange solution ever. If you are not allowed, or if you can't say who can have access to your data and who have control, it's a waste of time. So this is the first step, and it is very important. The second one is linked with what has been shared this morning concerning the clearinghouse. So Orange Business is currently developing a clearinghouse in its own cloud, Cloud Avenue. It is running. We are waiting for the accreditation of Gaia-X, and that's why I mentioned that it is a beta version. But it is running, and we had the opportunity to test it with the AgData Hub. And for the people who still do not understand what is a clearinghouse, I invite you to have a look to the demonstration at the AgData Hub stand. It is very interesting because you can understand all the steps that enable data sharing. So it is the second step. The next step is to scale up. We would like to scale up because we see that there are many opportunities. As I mentioned in my introduction, there are many fears from public sector, but also companies, because they don't understand what is behind data sharing, and there is also fears about data sovereignty. So the next step is to scale up and also to explain, to take time to explain what are the benefits of data spaces from a business point of view, notably.
Okay, thank you, Nassima. And just to be clear, your clearinghouse is up and running. It's just not accredited because we have this event here, and we will do it next week, most likely. Peter, how can the customer buy a Gaia-X compliance service from a European provider that's hosted on a hyperscaler platform?
So basically, we are very open and happy to work with our customers to help them get their services Gaia-X compliant. I think right now it is not yet clear enough where the standards are headed, and let's say the standards still need a little bit of work before we can commit to doing something that would have global implications on our platform. But I see a lot of things that we can do with customers today to enable them to build Gaia-X compliant solutions. So in the open source project of the Eclipse Data Space Connector, there is a repository that is specifically for reaching Gaia-X compliance. And we have customers that are running that on Azure, and we're happy to support those customers. We're happy to connect them to the right people in the ecosystem to support those projects. There are several Lighthouse projects that are developing their components on Azure. So we are watching this ecosystem very closely, providing helping hand where we can, and we're looking forward to remain a vital part of this ecosystem.
Thank you. Eric, same question to you.
Same question, yes. So again, through a strong partner ecosystem. And so I can speak for Germany in that case, because I started the development of the sovereign controls together with TSI about 3 years ago. And so the point is that you would probably do it the same way as you would now order or purchase sovereign controls as a customer. You get a TSI order form, you agree to the TSI terms and conditions, and you run with this partner, because we think that the local partner is oftentimes closer to the market and closer to the clients than we might be, and it might even be their existing customers, right? So they're standing actually in front of our cloud services, they do the handling, and in order to come up with the right services that are tailor-matched, we, for example, with TSI in Germany, we even have an agreement on co-innovation and co-development, where we can actually develop components for the market in the right way together. So we disclose our roadmap, they disclose their roadmap, and our engineering would support them, for example, in connector development and these aspects.
Can I add one comment, Eric? I think you mentioned really important things. Co-innovation is really important. We are doing it with all of these cloud vendors. You just mentioned one innovation, that's perfect. But on the other end, working on the other end with Gaia-X together, as also based on the specification and also the notarization service, the registry services that we jointly developed and challenged together, so to make it really enterprise robust at the end. And this is what we developed for one really important lighthouse project, Gaia-X as an example, rolled out in production. They're using it right now. The clearinghouse is live, so that means interoperability to other ecosystem is given when we are seeing other clearinghouse nodes are then available. So that means we can connect each other, and this is really important from my point of view. But it comes, I can underline it again, it comes from customer centricity. That means all the innovation makes only sense when we are bundling these innovations and these services and abstract it in a way that is understandable from clients, right? And that's the reason why I really would like to push us a little bit in the direction of think about more business application first, and then go to the solution designing and adding these little bit more complex components together. And that's, I think, important for us. For that reason, we like these partnerships with all cloud vendors, but also with the reference architectures that are supported by Gaia, IDSA, and that's really perfect.
Can I ask you a follow-up question, very concrete? How can a customer leverage the fact that you have a clearinghouse?
How can you leverage? Easy. So when you go to our booth, you will see you can use it on a mobile phone. You can subscribe to the service easily, and leverage means you can integrate it easily in your flow to register a business partner to participate, as an example, in an ecosystem. So that means you're getting a unique identification number as a business partner. You're validating if this partner is a trusted partner, a trusted participant, and then you're getting a verified credential back based on IDAS conform certificate. And this is what we are attaching then to the specific business partner number, and then you can work and use it as your digital identity pass to go through all different use cases, but you can subscribe then to other additional services like infrastructure services or other cloud services that are available. So that means we are bundling it. But behind the scenes, and that is my message, the customer is not seeing it, right? Yep. It is trusted, it is certified, and at the end, he is only consuming the service. And that is what I think matters, abstracting it in a way that is easily consumable, accessible, and really generates a business value out of it.
Thank you. So, listening to this and some other discussions we had, what we really need is scalability and sovereignty in the context of globalization, which introduces a conflict or maybe not. So, Nassima, what does AI and globalization mean to digital services, and how can collaboration enable Europe to leverage state-of-the-art technology?
Oh, that's a huge question. First, I would like to come back with the term of sovereignty. In Orange, we prefer to deal with trust, digital trust, because sovereignty is an attribute of states. So we can contribute, a company can contribute to the sovereignty, digital sovereignty, but we consider that what are looking customers, it is to be compliant with, to have solutions that are trusted and compliant with some criteria with regard to the regulation, with regard to the security, to technological choices, and so on. So I just wanted to underline this. Concerning AI, Catherine said it, we had a lot of things to do. And we see that with generative AI and so on, we didn't mention a lot on the power of AI for data spaces. And clearly, it is a step. We have to go ahead and to go on data spaces, because we see that if we want to leverage on AI, we have also to be able to master, to control who have access to the data.
Okay, thank you very much. Peter, I know it's a broad question, but AI globalization and leveraging state of art. What's your statement?
So I think we are at the very beginning of a very interesting journey here, because when you look at the standards that we're working on right now in Gaia-X and the other organizations that you mentioned, that is still all about a very technical view on how do I exchange data, how do I exchange trust attributes and claims. And it will be interesting when you start looking at the sovereign in the room, the various nations and their local regulations and local laws. Because let's say you want to specify a rule in a contract for a data asset that says this data is not to be allowed for the training of large language models. Is that, how do you express that in a way that it means the same thing in Omega-X as well as in Catena-X as well as in Iona-X? Do all those data spaces agree what the usage policy not for LLM actually means and how that has to be implemented? And once the data spaces agree on, yes, there is a semantic element in our model for this data is not allowed to be used for the training of LLMs, how does that interact with local regulations? Is that legal in all countries of the world? Do I have to interpret the usage policy differently because I'm consuming the data in a different regulatory environment, in a different legal environment? And I think those are questions that will give us a lot of work and a lot of opportunity to collaborate in the future, because we have just scratched the bottom layer here with how do we exchange the information about claims and attributes and usage policies. And now the next step will be how do we make this interoperable on a semantic basis and on a legal basis and globally between different regulations. So there's a lot of work ahead for all of us to continue working together.
Thanks, Peter. Sven, same question as a kind of closing statement to you. AI, globalization, and leverage state-of-the-art technology.
Yeah, let me slice it a little bit. I see trust is a really important factor, but when I slice the elements, we have network components, right? Network components sliced in infrastructure, services that we subscribe, then we have data that, of course, all the sovereignty aspects, control aspects are really crucial and important. And on top, when you have these models, and generative AI is an example, right? And subscribing or developing your own model, of course, it is important that you're sitting on a trusted network, trusted data layer, and then generating all the insights based on this AI input and output that you're generating. For that reason, my point of view is you have to combine it all together, and then at the end it will give you the trust that you need, and I think this is really important.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Eric, to you the same thing, state-of-the-art technology?
So I think it was in April this year that Sam Altman of OpenAI said the time of large language models is over. And that was quite funny because it was actually when the whole world jumped on the topic and the whole hype about large language models actually broke loose. And I think what it means is that the future will be smaller, specific, tailored, purpose-fit models, right, for specific needs. And companies want their specific knowledge corpus to be trained or tuned on such a model and not to be shared with anybody else. We call that adapter model. And these adapter models will stay within your tenant, within your data regency, and you will get a European endpoint, of which we now support 9, for example, to train that model, to tune the model, to do inference, so queries against the model, right? And it's not going to be this super huge models that costs mega millions actually to train and to build, and also to operate. It will be tailor-fit, purpose-fit models, smaller models, that do specific things on whatever it may be that the company needs, trained on their knowledge corpus. And there will also be not like app stores, but model gardens. We call it model garden, where you can actually pick the model for your purpose. And there will be open source models, commercial models, and what you don't want to share, you just keep within your tenant. And that's, I think, what it should be.
Thanks, Eric. So that was quite an interesting insight, and combined with what Pierre and I did this morning, I take away, and I want you to take away somehow, that number one, there is already an existing very strong ecosystem between technology providers and global providers and European providers, and there is also acceptance and understanding of European values and the need to create common standards to be interoperable, because that's the beginning of the journey. And that Gaia-X is providing an as lean as possible framework so that it allows everybody to remain on their existing stacks of technology, which they know, they're used to, they have implemented, but still participate in the wide new economy and ecosystem that Gaia-X is providing. And with that, I thank you very much for joining this last panel of the day, and big applause to the attendees. Danke, supi. Danke. Passt dann rein, wenn du Möglichkeit ist. Das wäre einfach so eine Reihenfolge, das wäre möglich gewesen.
Okay, so that's it. After a really long and intense day of lots of learning, I'm sure, lots of networking, we saw that, you love to talk. And of course, lots of experts and really interesting panels. We got to the most exciting part.
Exactly. Now you have the time or the opportunity to comply with the 5th rule that we have set you, which is enjoy the city of Alicante, enjoy the paella, enjoy Spanish people, talking to people as well, and you know, continue your networking.
And sangria.
And a lot of sangria, I've been told by Paki. So the, let's say, timetable is now there will be a networking cocktail. At 6:30, there will be the cooking show with the paella. You will see how the paella is made. And from 7:30 onwards, paella will be served, and everyone will be able to eat and drink.
Yes. And after all the fun and drinks we're going to have tonight, tomorrow we expect you here at 9 to start again.
Exactly. So
thank you very much, and enjoy the night.
Thank you.